The NFL yesterday was on Netflix, carried two games, the Chiefs at Pittsburgh Steelers, and then the Baltimore Ravens at Houston. And it was the first time I can ever recall them playing really on Christmas and trying to take ownership of Christmas Day. Historically, in my lifetime, Christmas Day was owned by the NBA when it comes to eyeballs and television ratings. Listen, you got to follow the money in television. You got to follow the money in sports. And I think sports leagues are understanding that the best time to put a game on is times when families are together. Hence Christmas Day. Yesterday, two games on two NFL games, both on Netflix. That was also new. Netflix has never carried an NFL game. And I was curious to see what Netflix would do with it. Number one, from an entertainment value, it was okay. Didn't really bother me. Wasn't the best thing in the world. I still think Al Michaels is the best play-by-play guy in sports. I love Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit. I think they do a fabulous job. To me, that's my favorite duo when it comes to calling games, NFL games. When I think about hockey games, by the way, I think about, a brain fart for a moment. Mike, I'll think about it in a minute, so bear with me. Excuse me. Anyways, I think a great NFL play-by-play guys. I don't think of the guys I heard yesterday. Ian Eagle was one of them, and I forget who the other ones were. But the Netflix games yesterday averaged 24 million viewers for both games, on average, 24 million. The NBA yesterday carried 5 games on ABC, ESPN through the platform all day, and they averaged 5 million. LeBron was on a mic afterwards, after the game. They interviewed him at midcourt after the win, and he said, I love the NFL, but Christmas Day is our day. That's what he said. He was adamant. Christmas Day is our day. This is our day. I hate to be the one to tell you, LeBron, it's not anymore, because the NFL just got about 5 times more viewers than the NBA. I'm sorry to tell you that, but you played second fiddle, and there's nothing you can do about it, LeBron. NBA has declining viewership and has had it. The NFL's king, and the numbers continue to grow. Yesterday during the Houston Texans game, Beyonce played at halftime. It was almost like a Super Bowl performance type show. It was very significant. Jay-Z was part of it. Shabuzi was part of it. And they had other artists as part of the show. It was truly like a Super Bowl performance show. And I was watching social media light up yesterday. Facebook, X, Insta, comments, and it's a great talk radio topic because people, about half the people on one side loved it, half people on the other side didn't. And those who didn't like it some of them could verbalize it, and those who loved it called those who didn't like it racist. And those who didn't like it called the other ones, you guys don't know what you're talking about in music. Listen, Beyonce's a phenomenal superstar. I'm just not a fan. She's not my cup of tea. Her voice to me is just, her cadence and everything she sings sounds the same to me. And the most common comment I heard yesterday and saw yesterday across social media is, she's not country. Well, to me, that's not the message. To me, I've seen artists, for example, Gwen Stefani. Remember Gwen Stefani married Blake Shelton. And Gwen Stefani was a pop artist, kind of alternative type pop artist. She's never done country. She does now with Blake. So she's not quote unquote country, just like Beyonce's not country. But she's sang on some country songs with her husband, Blake Shelton, that some of them are country songs. So if Beyonce teamed up with someone who's really country, could she do a country song? Yes. But to me, her voice just isn't that. So it's not about you are or aren't country. I just not a big Beyonce fan. What's your opinion? Love to hear your take. Did you like the show? Not like the show? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you like what she does? Not what I appreciate her as an artist. I appreciate the shows she does. She sells out a lot of shows. She's a mover and shaker when it comes to the music industry. And certainly dollars follow her. I'd love to hear your perspective at 800-288-9227. I want to know what you think. My name's Jeff, Westside Jeff, and for Chris Crock, let's go to Taz in Yentis. Taz, it's Tab, not Taz, but Tab and Yentis. Thanks for calling. You're on the Chris Crock Show, talking to Jeff. What's your thought on the Beyonce show?
Well, Well, Jeff, I've listened to you every time you've stood in for anybody on the station here. I listen at all times of the day and night, and I'm in total agreement with you. She may be all right for some folks, but she just weren't my cup of tea. After about the third or fourth bar or stanza, however you want to say it, I turned the TV down and went channel surfing back over to the NBA to see how the games were going.
Can you verbalize it? Why she's not your cup of tea? Can you kind of verbalize it?
Well, just like you said, it's all the same crud. Now, I'm about as far from racist as you could get, because in the 70s, when I was in high school, I listened to Kool and the Gang, Ohio Players, Earth, Wind and Fire, Parliament and Confunction. Those were my groups. So, you know, she doesn't twist the needle for me. It's
I get it.
Bland. There's nothing truly exciting about it. Nothing that makes you want to get up and groove or shake or move anything. You just go, yeah, there she goes.
I agree with you, Tab. It doesn't touch you. You know, to me, music has got to be emotional. Got to make you want to move, shake, something. You know, just sing along.
Right.
None of her songs really do that for me.
I went and saw Kool and the Gang and Casey and the Sunshine Band at Six Flags, and you know, it's been 15 years ago, and there were some black folks beside us said, "Man, you know these songs?" I said, "Yeah, they're good, right. This is my kind of music." And we were all sitting there grooving and shaking and stuff. You know, that's what music is supposed to make you do, whether it's country or whatever. It's supposed to make you feel something and get up and want to join in and be a part of it. And her,
Totally agree with you, Tab. Thank you for listening and thank you for calling. Thanks for being a part of the show. I appreciate it. We're talking about Beyonce yesterday performance at NRG Stadium in halftime in the Houston Texans Texas game. And a lot of the comments I've seen across social media, and it just is, sometimes social media can be the biggest trash receptacle of the world. And I see some of that with the Beyonce stuff, with people, many folks posting, if you didn't like Beyonce show, you're a racist. No, I can verbalize it for you. To me, Texas Hold'em is not a country song. And she's not a country artist. And that's okay. Let me give you another example. When I think of Darius Rucker, right? Darius Rucker, who was lead singer for, I forget the name of the band, Hootie and the Blowfish. Thank you, producer Matt, for telling me that, by the way. Hootie and Blowfish. Darius Rucker came out. Hootie and Blowfish was a pop artist group, right? Wasn't country artist. Then he kind of broke off on his own and went solo. And a lot of his artists, his songs have gone country. There's a black guy that did country. And he crosses over charts. Kane Brown is another black guy. I think he came up out of The Voice or one of those TV shows that does country. That isn't a crossover. So to me, it's not a race thing, a color thing. It's just country songs just have a thing about them that tells a story. If you listen to country radio, a lot of the songs are about beer, girls, trucks, cars, relationships, right? And they tell a story. That's what country is to me. I want to get into, I got to hit a break here in about 60 seconds on the other side of it. I want to talk about a story I think is very important, that because of the time of the season, you probably haven't paid that much attention to it. But when you add a couple of these stories up, they really resonate. And they're stories that you just need to know. The lead is, if you watch the nightly news tonight, you saw a little bit about a plane crash and Azerbaijan air crash. There's more to that story, and there's news coming out of that I want to share with you. And when you combine it with what happened in the last couple of weeks, there's something to it. Just regular guy, I follow the news, and when I put a couple pieces of stuff together like a puzzle, I look at this, that, and this, and go, there's something to this. And I make a connection. something you need to be aware of. I'll tell you what that is in about 3.5 minutes. Give me 3.5 minutes. I'll tell you more. My name's Jeff. It's Westside Jeff, and for Chris Crock on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Bottom of the hour, I want to talk about Christmas gifts. Over half of us received at least one unwanted Christmas gift over the holidays yesterday. And the average dollar volume of that spent was $72. My question for you is, what unwanted Christmas gift did you receive? And what do you think the value of that was? And what are you going to do with it? My name's Jeff. It's Westside Jeff in for Chris Crock. I want to talk now about a news story out of today. Tonight's nightly news, I went up and down the dial and saw, I heard this throughout the day about, and when you first hear the news, it's one of those things that in one ear and out the other, you really don't stop and go, huh. But this is one of those stories you really need to stop and go, huh, about. Story today across media about the Azerbaijan Airlines crash that occurred over near Kazakhstan, killing 38 folks and 29 survivors. There's something to this story when you add it to a couple other things. Hang with me for about 6 minutes, and I'll tell you why that's important. So it's preliminary results out tonight about Azerbaijan's investigation into the deadly crash of a civilian airliner, and it points to the plane being hit by Russian anti-aircraft missile or shrapnel from it. That's according to people who've been briefed on that situation. Now, this is out of the Middle East tonight. Azerbaijan, I'm sure I'm saying it wrong. Azerbaijan's initial findings came quickly after the aviation experts said that visible damage to their airline flight carrying 62 passengers and 5 crew members was evidence that it was hit by munitions. And the crash killed 38 people and left 29 survivors. Now think about that. That's unbelievable. If you've seen the video of that, and if it's stunning, and if you haven't, when you do, you'll go, how does somebody survive out of that? Some of the survivors have said they heard a loud explosion that preceded the flight's problems. So I've gone up and down and checked out media resources and sites, news reports, and gathered as much as I could within the last 15 to 20 minutes, just so I can give you the latest. Now, it was Flight 8243 to Grozny, Russia's Chechnya region. It suddenly diverted course when flying over a part of Russia where the military had been shooting down Ukrainian drones. Now we're getting into that part where you go, huh, interesting, right? Story you got to pay attention to. The plane went down in the western Kazakhstan near the Caspian Sea city of Aktu. Of the survivors, many were in critical condition in hospitals. So one of the things I always say about events, world events like this, when they go on, to me, these events are a great opportunity to learn geography. Where the heck are these cities, and where's the Caspian Sea? Unless you really know, unless you've been there and visited, unless you served in the military, you might not know. So I had to look where the Caspian Sea is. Well, what's interesting is Caspian Sea is right next to Azerbaijan, Armenia, Georgia, just south of Russia. It borders Tehran. It's the hot spot in this world. And coincidentally, and this is why it's important, we've had some U.S. aircraft over there running all kinds of flight missions, and we've had a couple of U.S. aircraft shot down. So when I heard the story today about the plane crash that was diverted through Russia around the Caspian Sea area and Azerbaijan, and Tehran is right there, and Iraq's not far away, I'm thinking, and the American aircraft, I'm thinking maybe there's something to this. Love to hear your perspective if you've got one. 800-288-9227. So people familiar with the probe said Russia diverted the plane from its original airspace and had its GPS jammed. That's people familiar with this area say that the airline had its GPS jammed. Now, they said Azerbaijan was deliberating over a response to the crash, trying to figure out what they do and how they do it. Now, neither the country's civil aviation agency nor the presidential office responded to requests for comment, according to the media reports. Russia's Federal Air Traffic Agency said the crash had happened after the plane had hit a flock of birds. So Russia says, the plane hit a flock of birds. How would Russia know that? When asked about the investigation's preliminary indications of Russian involvement, the Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said it was way too early to come to any conclusions about the cause of this crash. Had to be birds. Any Russian responsibilities for the crash would echo the events around the downing of the Malaysia Airlines Flight 17, which occurred years ago in 2014, killing all 298 people aboard. Russia didn't accept responsibility for that, but what we end up finding out after the fact is it was shot down by anti-defense system also used by the Russian military from Ukrainian territory held by Moscow-backed rebels in 2014. Now, an aviation security expert firm called Osprey Flight Solutions, citing assessments of footage of the crash, the damage to the aircraft, and the recent military activity, said that flight definitely was shot down by Russian military air defense systems. Now, I saw some of the video tonight on the news before I went on the air, and the fuselage of this aircraft looks like it has bullet holes in it. That's according to experts. They say that's shrapnel from anti-aircraft military weapons. When it set off from when the plane took off from Baku to Wednesday morning, the airline plane was flying over part of Russia's North Caucasus that has been targeted by Ukrainian drones in recent weeks, and Russia's defense ministry said it had been shot down about 59 Ukrainian drones overnight into Wednesday through this morning, most of them bordering Ukraine. Now, one of them was shot down over a city west of Grozny 3 hours before this plane crashed today, or late yesterday. So I find it interesting that a plane was shot down, or a plane went down. It had shrapnel on the sides of it. It sure looks like it took fire. And I tie that back to something else that I remember reading over the last couple weeks. So I had to go looking for that information. And here's that information. Another American fighter jet aircraft narrowly avoided being shot down by friendly fire recently. I can't identify exactly what day it was, whether it was yesterday or Tuesday, while conducting the mission over the Red Sea. That's according to U.S. Navy official. They revealed that. Now, guess where that is? That's right there in the same region. An FA-18 Super Hornet was forced to take evasive maneuvers after an SM-2 missile fired from guided missile cruiser USS Gettysburg passed within 100 feet or 30 meters of the aircraft. The U.S. Navy is investigating whether the Super Hornet was the intended target or the missile of the missile, or if the target was a hostile target nearby. Earlier this week, U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM, reported that a U.S. Navy pilot sustained minor injuries after the USS Gettysburg mistakenly fired and hit an FA-18 aircraft. And let me ask you a question. Do you think our Navy ships, do you really believe that the United States military ships are firing at our own aircraft? Do you really think they get them confused? I'm not buying that. Are you? I'm not buying that our aircraft are taking friendly fire. Now, the pilot and the weapons system officer ejected from that jet and were later rescued by helicopter. Following this second such incident in a week, USS Truman, so a different aircraft carrier, reportedly paused its operation against Houthi targets over the Red Sea. A source told Fox News that some U.S. Navy pilots aboard the aircraft carrier expressed frustration over the mistakes, questioning the sufficiency of training for personnel on the USS Gettysburg. U.S. Navy is now looking into whether the guided missile destroyer mistakenly activated the guidance system on its missiles, leading to the incident. So you have a passenger plane that came to the ground yesterday, and they think it's friendly fire or fire from Russian anti-aircraft missiles, shrapnel. And you have U.S. aircraft, military aircraft getting shot at over there too. Do you find it odd in the same region that it's going on? Coincidentally, last night, at the end of the day, Mrs. Westside Jeff and I, going up and down the dial, turned on a movie. It was Top Gun Maverick. And it just ties together. I want to tell you about that. And about, I get hit Bob in the Hour News with Sean Allen and John Ingham. But on the other side of the news, I want to tie those together and tell you how they could be tied together. United States aircraft, a military aircraft being shot at over in that region, a passenger plane from Azerbaijan gets shot down. Something's going on over in that region, and we don't know the details, but it's something you got to keep an eye on. I'll tell you more about that after the bottom of the hour news. That's in 2 minutes. 3 minutes later or 4 minutes later, I'll tell you more. My name's Jeff. It's Westside Jeff, and for Chris Crock on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Well, you just heard John Ingham in the newsroom do the story about the plane crash, the passenger plane crash, and Fox News covered that story also. And I'm talking about the passenger plane that is suspected that the Russian air defense system caused an Azerbaijan Airlines crash. The plane was diverted from Russia and had its GPS jammed before crashing in Kazakhstan. Killed 38 people. There are 29 survivors. Russia claims they didn't have anything to do with it. They are claiming, it was a bird strike. Find that odd that the Russians are telling us it's a bird strike and not the airlines or the country of the origin of the airlines. We know we can't trust everything comes out of the Kremlin. And all this, in addition to that, some of the news I followed the last really 2 weeks is the number of fighter jets over in that area of the world that have taken fire. And in some cases, it's been reported to us a friendly fire. How about you? I didn't serve in the military. Just a part of me that I call BS. I'm not so sure that our ships out there in the Red Sea or Caspian Sea are shooting at our aircraft. I'm not buying it. I find that odd. What do you make of that? What's your opinion? 800-288-9227, 800-288-WBAP. Also, you can hit me up across social media at Westside Jeff. Now, recently in the last couple of days, another American fighter aircraft narrowly avoided being shot down by friendly fire while conducting a mission over the Red Sea. That's according to U.S. Navy officials revealed that in the last couple of days. It was an FA-18 Super Hornet that was forced to take, quote-unquote, evasive maneuvers after an SM-2 missile fired from guided missile cruiser USS Gettysburg passed within 100 feet of the aircraft. Now, the USS Harry Truman's also been involved in an earlier training incident. So I find it odd that over in that region of the world that the American military is involved in shooting down some Houthi drones and kind of a little war against the Houthis. That's what we're doing. And the Houthis are fighting back a little bit. The Russians are over there involved. A passenger airline goes down. There's something up with this. And in this day and age where during the holidays we are less likely to pay attention to news and media reports, that's something you kind of got to keep an eye on. It's a hot spot. My opinion is it's a hot spot. And there's more to my opinion is there's something more going on there than we know. There's something more going on there than we've been told. I don't trust this administration at all. You don't either. And I'll be curious to see what happens over the next 3 weeks as Trump takes over the White House and the visibility or the transparency that takes place. because there's something to these stories when you add them up, that American military are involved with a kind of a little bit of a conflict with the Houthis. American military aircraft are being shot at. American military aircraft pilots have had to eject their aircraft and ditching them, millions and millions of dollars of planes there. And then a passenger airline from a different country over there that borders the Caspian Sea was shot down. I just think there's something to it. We don't have transparency. There's more to it than we know. And hopefully the Trump administration can get in there and figure out what the hell's going on. And we have transparency again, because we certainly don't have it right now. If you got an opinion, I'd love to hear that at 800-288-9227. My name's Jeff, Westside Jeff, and for Chris Crock. Christmas was yesterday. The reports say that more than half of us, 53% of us, opened at least one unwanted gift. What did you get? What unwanted gift? What did you open and go and have that fake smile and go, gee, thank you very much. This is wonderful. And it's not about being ungrateful. It's just, I don't know about you, but I open those things sometimes and I go, I just kind of smile and grin my teeth and thank you. It's wonderful. And all I could think about yesterday is unwrapping stuff. Okay, what am I going to talk about tomorrow night? One of those was a family member. I got to be careful how I say and what I say, because sometimes they listen and I don't want to hurt my family members' feelings. And I can't quite do this anonymously like you can. You can always call me and change your name and be an anonymous type caller. I can't. My name's Jeff. It's Westside Jeff. People know who I am, and my family knows who I am, and friends know who I am. So whatever I say, I'll get back to them. But I'll be nice about it. I'm an avid golfer, and I've got a brand new driver and 3-wood in the bag, and I have a putter I love. My putter is what they call an Odyssey 2-ball. It's a very large putter. It's not what we call a blade putter for those of you that play golf. And a family member gave me remember my story. I'm born and raised up in Columbus, Ohio. So home of what we call the Ohio State University. I did not go to the Ohio State University. I went to a different university called Ohio University. It's an hour and a half southeast of Columbus. And I was given a driver head cover that has Ohio State Buckeye logo on it. It's officially licensed stuff. It's nice. It's wonderful. I'll come back to that in a second. And I was given a head cover for a putter. Now, the head cover I was given is for a blade putter. So and I don't carry a blade. It's a 2-ball. So the putter cover that I was given won't even come close to working. So it's the wrong gift. And as I opened it, Mrs. Westside Jeff was sitting there and went, she looked at it and went, oh, she said, that's not going to work, is it? Because that's a blade. That's for a blade putter, and you don't have a blade, right? And I went, yep. And she said, well, the good news is there's a receipt in there. You can take it back and exchange it for something else, which I probably will. So my question to you is, what gifts did you get that were unwanted? What was something that you received that was unwanted? And what kind of money was spent on it? And what are you going to do with it? So mine was a driver head cover and a putter head cover. The putter head cover just won't work on my putter, period. And I'm not getting rid of my putter. I love my putter. And the driver head cover I'm not going to use only because I bought the new AI Smoke Callaway, and I love it. It comes with a really cool head cover, which I like. So I will take back the 2 head covers and exchange them for something that'll be more useful. Don't know what yet, but I'll go into the golf store and go shopping. Maybe a new pair of golf shoes and spend the difference on them. But the average person, facts say that 53% of us received at least one unwanted present for the holidays, for Christmas. It's an estimated 140 million Americans got something that they didn't necessarily want. The average cost of that unwanted gift was $72. So somebody somewhere spent quite a bit of time shopping for gifts that you didn't even want. And that's a tough position to be in because I appreciate them shopping. The most unwanted items are clothing and accessories. For me, it was the accessories, the golf accessories. And the most unwanted gifts, those items, those two, clothing and accessories, total up to about 43% of those that were purchased. So the question for you is, what do you do? What did you get? Will you re-gift it somewhere along the way? Will you take it back? Did you let them know that it was quote-unquote unwanted? How do you deal with that? I'd love to hear your perspective. My name's Jeff, Westside Jeff. My phone number is 800-288-9227, 800-288-WBAP. You can also hit me up across social media, Facebook, X, and Instagram at Westside Jeff. Did you get an unwanted gift? What was it? What do you think they spent on it? And what are you going to do with it? That's what I want to hear from you. 800-288-9227, Westside Jeff in for Chris Crock on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP. The name is Jeff. It's Westside Jeff in for Chris Crock. Chris is back next week on Thursday night. He'll be back in this chair as regularly scheduled time frame this week and next on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. He's filling in for Casey, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., and I'm sitting in for Chris at night. My name is Jeff. It's Westside Jeff. You can hit me up across social media at Westside Jeff, or just pick up a phone and call 800-288-9227. One of the things that's tough about the holidays, and I had one of those moments yesterday, is holidays like Christmas is one of the times of the year where people who live around the country and don't live in the same hometown as their parents, they travel to get back together as family. Let me explain that. There's a lot of folks that grew up here in North Texas. They went off to school somewhere, graduated, their careers had them traveling somewhere else in the country, and now that's where they live, or vice versa. I grew up in Columbus, Ohio, went to college up there, and I know a lot of folks that live here in North Texas now, but still have family in Ohio. Christmas is one of the times that many kids, when I say kids, I'm talking people in their 30s and 40s and 50s, travel home for the holidays. And the holidays, for those of you or those of us who don't see close family members but 2 times, 3 times a year, you talk to them. It's one thing to talk to them on the phone. It's another to spend some time with them face to face and a couple hours with them. And this is a time of the year it's really difficult because there are many of you, many of us, who are now waking up this morning, today, tomorrow, the next couple of days, and going, geez, my loved one isn't as sharp as they once were. And at some point in time, you may have to be in a position where you got an intervention. Let me give you an example, very specific story. I'm 64 years old. My oldest brother is 75. He lives in town. I only see him a couple times a year. He was over for Thanksgiving to the house, and he came yesterday. I have a friend named Earl. Earl is my golfing partner. He and I were golf partners forever, for 15 years. He's 62 years old. Earl was married, divorced, has a son. He and his ex-wife don't even talk, no relationship. And the son is distant also because of the marriage. Earl basically is all alone to some degree. About 58 years old, I think it was, Earl's diagnosed with onset early on dementia. It progressed to Alzheimer's. The family intervened, or his son intervened. They had to put him into a home, a memory care unit. And I've said to my buddy Earl, I love you. I need you in my life. I want to spend time with you. And I'm not going to let you waste away in what he and I call the insane asylum. I'm not going to let him just stay in there and waste away. I've told him all along, I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to challenge your mind. I'm going to be part of your life. And if I ever overstep my boundaries, let me know and I'll back off. He said, no, I want you to do that. So I pick Earl up every Saturday and every Sunday to spend time with him. Have done that for three years now. In fact, when my wife and I go on vacation, one of the places we go is April. We go up to middle of Tennessee to a golf community and play golf for a week because my wife's an avid golfer. Hell, she loves golf more than I love it, and I could play every day. And Earl is too. So we have made a concerted effort to take Earl with us on vacation, even though he's got Alzheimer's. His Alzheimer's has progressed. But there was a time when Earl, nobody knew he had Alzheimer's or dementia, and I didn't either. But it's that first recognition of somebody you love, that you're like, wait a minute, we've had this conversation before. And little things along the way that occur in life when you are interacting with somebody a lot that you didn't see before when all you did is talk to them on the phone. The holidays pronounce that. The holidays expedite that. The holidays make it tougher. So I picked Earl up for Thanksgiving and had him spend Thanksgiving Day, the day after, and that whole weekend with me. Not overnight, but I'd pick him up every morning, keep him until 8, 9 o'clock at night, drop him back off, and pick him up the next day. So he spent basically 4 days with us, except for spending the night. And on Thanksgiving, my oldest daughter came in town, her and her husband, and they announced they're pregnant. So I'm going to be a grandfather. Well, that's the first time in my life I started feeling something happened in my life that I went from feeling normal to feeling, God, am I old, when I was told I'm going to be a grandfather for the first time. So we celebrated. We talked about it. My brother came over. Earl was with me, and my daughter was in town. We had a lengthy conversation about her being pregnant and talked about it and the pictures and stuff like that. So my brother knew about it because he was part of the conversation. So yesterday morning, my brother, before he comes over to the house, calls me an hour before and says, hey, I'm having a senior moment. What are the names of your daughters? And I was like, That was that moment of, okay, that's a strange conversation. And I said, Danielle's the oldest and Sydney's the youngest. We talked about it. He's like, that's right. I do remember that. I knew what he was doing. He was asking because he's putting their names on cards. But I thought it was odd that, he's been in my life he's 75 and I'm 64. He's been in my life all along. Not day in and day out, but we see each other 4 or 5 times a year. So for him to ask the names of my daughters, I was like, that's strange. Then he gets to the house an hour later and he walks in. We sit there and it's Earl, my buddy who has Alzheimer's, and me and my wife and the girls and my brother there. And we're all talking and my wife shows my brother a gift that a coworker of mine gave me. It's a little miniature golf club for like a baby. And it said, my first club. And it said on the package, it's a boy. So my wife was showing that to my brother, Rick, and Rick went, oh, who's having a baby? And she said, our oldest daughter, Danielle. And he's like, I didn't know she's pregnant. And Earl looked at me immediately with the eyeball, and he didn't have to say it. He looked at me, and he wanted to say, and I'm the guy with Alzheimer's? We all laughed, by the way. And so my wife said, hey, you were here for Thanksgiving, and we talked about this. He said, no, I wasn't here Thanksgiving this year. Now I really got nervous. I'm like, wait a minute. You had to call me and ask me the names of my daughters. You come in the house and we sit there having dinner, and you didn't realize my oldest daughter is pregnant. We talked about it at length over Thanksgiving dinner, which was, 4 or 5 weeks ago? And now you're telling me you didn't come over for Thanksgiving. And he said, I wasn't here for Thanksgiving. And Earl looked dead at him and said, yeah, you were. And that's when Earl said, by the way, I'm the guy with Alzheimer's. And we all laughed and had a conversation. But the bottom line is, this is the time that families, that you might have been exposed to that moment where you looked at somebody, a loved one, and went, uh-oh, they have significant memory loss. And the question you got to ask is, at what point in time do you intervene? What point in time do you have to do something? What point in time, when do you say this is a problem? We need to, this isn't just, I forgot something. This was 4 or 5 things that happened to me yesterday with my oldest brother that I got to have a conversation with him next time that we're together and kind of test his mental acuity, because I'm starting to get concerned. He's not married. He doesn't have family. He lives alone. And I got to be concerned that he's going to get in a car, drive somewhere, and forget what he's doing. It's a tough time for families. I went through that yesterday. If you've gone through it and maybe it's hit you this week, I'd love to hear your story and how you deal with it. How's this impact you? How's this affected you in your life? How's this come into play with your loved one? What have you experienced? I want to hear it, because I think we can all learn from what you've gone through and how you dealt with it. In families, there's always those kids. One kid says, no, there's nothing wrong with him. He's normal. It's just old age. And another person says, yeah, there's something wrong. We got to intervene. That can tear families apart. I'd like to hear your story. How do you deal with that? Tell me your story about that first moment you realize that someone has a mental breakdown and the mental acuity and memory loss. And how do you deal with that? How do you identify it? How do you address it? And how do you follow up with it?